Hey, fans of the Monday Movie Club. I'm
Bold of you to presume that's plural.
yes. Wait, okay. Now, here we are.
I'm
And
Frank
I
Gaffney.
changed my name.
Yeah.
All right. This week we
Ah,
celebrate the 60th anniversary of To Russia with Love, which of course was Joel's selection.
From Russia with Love.
To
Two.
Russia with Love? Oh, from Russia with Love. I'm Frank Gaffney. Frank Gaffney. And with us as always is Fenster, Joel Fenster. Joel Fenster. That's the best I can do. Amy No Cringer. Annie King, who comes to us from Costa Rica. You look lovely. What a beautiful view.
I don't think James Bond's ever been there.
No, she should have gone to Jamaica, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And Mark Wotis Gardner, who has Mark Bond. Should have been Wotitz, Mark Wotitz.
Yeah.
From Russia with Love poster up. Joel, I don't think I even have to ask, but why From Russia with Love?
Because
Oh,
It's fair.
Okay, this
okay.
Bond, I believe this Bond was Sean Connery's favorite, right?
Yes.
Yes. And it's a great one for so many reasons, most of them being that they had a higher budget than that first film, Dr. No, and that they created some iconic Bond tropes that have been used in almost all of the subsequent movies, and most importantly, the trademark wit. Okay, the plot. To avenge the death of their agent, Dr. No, that was that first film, international crime cartel Spectra have Soviet spy mistress Rosa Klebb, Lottie Lenya, and her wonderful venom knife shoe. That was so funny. And he's like, she has her kicks. And psychopath Red Grant, a perfectly matched but inexplicably blonde Robert Shaw. Why is he blonde? Was Grant blonde in the
Yes.
novel? No. And he is beautiful. And so they implement a plan to assassinate James Bond. And it's like 18 minutes in until we see Sean Connery, his toupee firmly in place, and in his little swimsuit, which obviously inspired Daniel Craig's Speedo, right? In Casino Royale. And he's everything. He really is. He's beautiful, charming. He's a rogue. That twinkle in his eye. Oh my. He's lovely. And then we see this is the first appearance of Desmond Llewellyn in the Q branch. He made 17 appearances as the gadget guy, but here he's listed in the credits as Boothroyd.
Yes.
That's a great name.
Well, that's the name of the character from the books, as well as the character when he appeared in Dr. No. The actor who played him, I'm blanking on the relevant, was not available, so they turned to Desmond.
Lucky for Desmond.
Yeah.
And he well, but then wasn't he just called Q after that?
Yes, they pretty much call him Q after that because he's part of Q branch.
Yeah.
Equipment.
And then Llewellyn died in 1999, and that kind of ended his appearances in the series.
Wait,
yes.
Joel.
Unlike damn it, the Marvel guy.
The Marvel guy.
Yeah, you know, the dead guy who made all the appearances. Yeah. What's his name?
Lee.
Who?
Stan Lee.
What's his name?
Oh my God.
Stan Lee.
Stan Lee. Unlike Stan Lee, who kept making appearances after he died. Okay, so there was a funny thing in the I was like, is anybody going to get that reference anymore? So he throws the hat on the bed, and then he's like, meh. Because the adage is that if you throw your hat on the bed, that's going to lead to injury or death. And we were always told, don't put your hat on the bed because it was bad luck. But Bond didn't care because he flies in the face of adversity. But did you get that reference? Why he paused when he threw the hat on the bed?
You know, when you just said it, I of course says, "Oh, you can't do that. It's bad luck." But I don't think I saw that in the movie.
My grandmother used to always tell me that, so I did it more often. 'Cause she-
Yeah.
And then
And
you
that
closed,
was-
you opened your umbrella and you walked out.
yeah, right, pretty much. And I threw black cats at her when I
And that explains your life now, Joel.
pretty much.
Okay, and then of course number 3, that's the Lottie Lenya Rosa Klebb, had to have Coke bottle glasses to make her even more unattractive. And you know, if they actually cast it today, they would cast Pat McCoy. That's Rosa Klebb. She's not on Facebook, so she'll never know I said that.
But we'll tell her.
You sure?
And some things were just so funny to me because when they go in the secret entrance and he says they'll close up afterwards, like the rug was really masking that door. Like anybody wouldn't have seen the door behind the rug. It was ridiculous. And that ridiculous periscope. I'm like, seriously? They don't see the thing up there? What about the cleaning people? They're like, why is this thing on the floor? That was ridiculous. And of course, we had to have a cat fight because you want to see naked ladies running, beating each other up.
That's why Mark liked the movie.
That part was
And
ridiculous.
then the gunfight. I was like, what is this? Like the gunfight at OK Corral? They're all like, man. And this cracked me up too. I had to look it up because I was so prominently featured that poster of Call Me Buana with Anita Ekberg and Bob Hope. I'm like, what the hell is that about? And I looked it up. And the movie was made by Eon Productions, which is the same company that made this. So they put a little advertisement for their other movie.
Yep.
I don't like it. And then Bond orders green figs and yogurt for breakfast. Ugh. What are green figs anyway? Why are they green?
They're
Aren't figs figs?
Aren't they
Hold
naturally
on,
green?
hold on. And with honey too. So figs, honey, and yogurt's a very, very Middle
Sounds good to me.
Eastern,
Yeah.
Mediterranean.
No,
Yeah.
no, thank you. And then he says that Tatiana is the most beautiful girl in the world, but really she's only the second most beautiful girl in the world because she came in second at Miss Universe contest. So, and then that close up on her lips, I'm like, when she went, I'm like, we need a close up of that. And then of course we see the perverts watching them make love. I'm like, really? And with the dubbing, her and Karen Bay, both of them. Oh my gosh, the dubbing, it was so annoying. And this made me laugh when he said he ordered red wine with fish. That should have told me something.
Hey, that was great.
I thought that as soon as he ordered it.
Yeah. And then of course we had our little North by Northwest moment with the helicopter. I'm like, I've seen this already. And then the flare gun and igniting all the barrels. I'm like, please, Mary, that would never happen. Good Lord. Maybe one it would ignite, not all of them at once.
Except it did, because it's a real effect, and they actually had to do it twice because the first time they shot it, they weren't actually shooting. The special effects team set it off for a rehearsal, thinking that it was actually ready to go. They had to get everything. They had to get duplicates of everything overnight to reshoot the whole scene the next day.
Somebody got fired.
No, nobody got fired.
Wow.
Just the barrels got
Just the
fired.
barrels got fired
Ah,
There
twice.
you go.
And then Venice, so beautiful. I love seeing Venice. And so when he was in the hotel room and the wallpaper was that flocking paper, we had that in our living room growing up. It was like real velvet. You could touch it and you could feel the velvet on the wallpaper. And then at the very end, the theme from Russia with Love, one of the lamer themes, sung by Matt Monro, who sounds very much like Andy Williams to me. Is Matt Monro also British?
I do not remember.
All right, so this was not quite as good for me as Goldfinger. That's the next one we're going to watch next year. The somewhat dated action sequences are a little quaint, but it's a very solid story, nicely executed, an excellent sequel that actually improves on the first film. And Daniela Bianchi, who played Tatiana, is just a passable Bond girl. I don't know. And we also got to see Blofeld and stroking his white cat, which obviously is funny now because of Austin Powers. And the very 1965, Mel Brooks was inspired to create Get Smart because of this silliness.
Mel Brooks created that?
Yeah.
Yep. Mel Brooks and Buck Henry.
Wow.
And so Ernst Blofeld is called number one, but the actor listed in the credits as a question mark. And Joel, I assume they were thinking maybe they would get like a famous person to play it.
Well, they actually, the actor who you don't really see, you see the back of his head at one point, and his hands is actually Anthony Dawson, who was in Dr. No. He played Professor Dent, the guy that snuck into the bedroom to shoot Bond, and then Bond shoots him in cold blood, if you remember that scene. So he's actually the physical aspect of Blofeld, not just in From Russia with Love. He'll also be doing it again in Goldfinger. And then an actor by the name of Eric Pullman is the voice of Blofeld in both of those films. So
And
they weren't sure where they were going with the character at that point because there were some legal issues involved. So
I remember Donald Pleasance playing him, but did he do it for several or just one or
no,
two?
Donald Pleasance is the first time you physically see Blofeld in the Bond series in You Only Live Twice. And that's the 5th film. So
I like my theory better.
Which is?
They didn't show him because they were hoping to get a star to play it the next time.
Sure. Let's go with that.
That's a good point, though. Yeah. And I happened to look Lottie Lenya up because I didn't know she was a singer.
Mhm.
Of course, I know her just really from Mac the Knife. So one of the videos the one only video I happened to just watch a bit of, I just then read the comments on YouTube. The guy who was the son of the voice of Blofeld was very, very active. And it was really interesting seeing what he had to say and how his father was friends with Donald Pleasance. And it was just interesting. I was like, oh, because I knew you were going to say that.
All right, so this one gets 3.5 stars from me. It's still one of the best Bonds. And then I was running the whole thing, whatever. And then it said James Bond will be back. So was that the original post-credit sequence?
Yeah, that's what I
Well,
thought.
I wouldn't call that a post-credit sequence. That's just an announcement.
It's
not just an announcement that he'll be back. It's an announcement he'll be back in Goldfinger.
Right.
Yeah, but it's nice to see that that's where Marvel kind of stole it from.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, oh yeah. The things sometimes when they say, Thanos will return,
Exactly.
like that.
Yeah, that's what he's getting at.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing.
Oh, mama.
All right, so Annie King, have you seen any of the James Bond movies? We watched Dr. No. Are you a James Bond?
But I think I've seen more of the later ones.
Daniel
I grew
Craig,
up with the Roger Moore
Right.
James Bond. I've caught this one in bits and pieces, just never from the beginning. Like I remember parts of the train and stuff like that, but so it was good to watch it from beginning to end. I thought some of it was, like we had said, like when he hits Tanya, like in the train, like that would never fly,
Today,
Yeah. Yeah, James Bond would never do that today and stuff. But it was good, it's a nice story. I like that he didn't know what was going on till like the end of it. And but I knew like so far in advance that briefcase was going to explode in the villain's face.
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah. And that's one of the great things I love about Bond is all the little gadgets and like wondering when they were going to use it. So I didn't foresee the coins, the sovereigns being the lure for him to open up the suitcase. So
Sounds good.
yeah, that was pretty good. So yeah, no, I enjoyed it. It was fun. I didn't understand the whole gypsy thing. I thought that was a little just weird with although I always wanted to learn belly dancing and I'm like, my hips would never do that. It's just not possible. So
I think it was just another chance to show a half-naked lady. That's all I think.
Yeah. If I was at home, I would take out my belly dancing skirt and have it for today's movie.
Ah.
But I'm not at home.
Wear it next week.
Okay, we'll go find that. in my costume box. So, yeah, 3.25 for me. It was a little wonky in areas and stuff. And parts of it were just, some parts of it, like, I couldn't even see. It was so dark. And I'm not sitting in a dark room. I was like, how do you see this in a dark theater? Because there were parts of it when they were fighting on the train that I couldn't even tell what was going on. you
Maybe
know?
your TV is just set a little dark because I didn't have that problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe, because I
Yeah,
just,
the TVs in Costa Rica just aren't.
well, I
They're
couldn't
not too
get
bright.
I couldn't get this on Prime for free. I actually had to rent it down here because it's not available in this area. So,
Ugh.
so I better learn how to use the box
The
soon.
box. All right, Mark Bond. You have the poster up, so I'm
Yeah,
assuming you enjoyed this movie.
Well,
You've seen it. You've seen it before.
here's the thing. I like I texted to you guys. About 8 or 9 years ago, Danielle and I decided to watch all the Bonds with Joel's assistants. We went over to Joel and Natasha's house for definitely for Goldfinger, maybe for one or two others. I think you were going through all the movies at the time, and then we did some from home and all this stuff. I thought I'd watched every Bond, but I have definitely never seen this one. I don't know how I skipped it. Maybe I skipped it and thought I'd go back and I forgot about it. But
Maybe by time Joel told you he was running them all, he was up to Goldfinger, and you missed the first two.
but I definitely watched when we watched Dr. No last year. I'd only seen it once, so I didn't remember it all that well, but I definitely remembered quite a bit of it. And there was none of that. I remembered nothing, so I've never seen this before, and I was very pleasantly surprised because I know that I like Goldfinger, but I'm more, as you guys know, I don't like the older movies. I like the newer stuff. I like Daniel Craig's Bonds the best. So I really thought this was pretty well done. I wrote notes in order of watching. I thought the Russian accents were horrible. But Moneypenny, I love this version of Moneypenny and they're flirting. I remember that through the other movies. I find it adorable. You kind of want them to get together. Quint, holy crap, he was jacked. What's his name? Robert Shaw. I was surprised because he died 5 years later from like alcoholism. I don't know how he was in such good shape at this point.
He couldn't have
46
died
years old.
5 years later because he was Jaws is over 10 years later.
Maybe he died 5 years after Jaws came out.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I'm off by 10
Yeah.
years. Yeah, he died, whatever it was. All right, so he died 15 years later. Sorry. But yeah, he
That's
was,
enough time to be an alcoholic.
I guess so.
I couldn't believe it was him. It looked nothing like my memory of seeing
Yeah,
Robert Shaw and
you look
Jaws.
good.
I said the same thing until some scene when he was like looking like this. I was like, okay, that looks just like him on the boat telling the story of the sunken ship.
But Aim, he looked good.
I'm telling you.
Okay, my another the issue I had here. Hear me out in this because you guys know I do martial arts and all this stuff. James Bond, when he first went into the hotel room, he cleared the room, right? So then he checked all the spots. He made sure there was nothing was bugged, all that stuff. Then he comes back from dinner or whatever, and he walks in. The balcony doors are open. He starts stripping down naked, and there's a naked woman in his bedroom. He doesn't even notice any of this. How do you do that? That was complete bullshit. He is a pro. He would have checked everything before he did. He was so out of it. It did not make sense to me. And
Too much red wine with fish.
Yeah, he was drunk.
Complete BS to me. And now I understand where I knew a lot of the jokes from Austin Powers, but I always thought number 2 was just a silly joke that he did. I had no idea that there was number 3, number 1, number 5. I had no idea. I don't think they mentioned it in any other Bond. Joel?
They do.
Okay. I never noticed it before. Both of us said that. We were like, wow, this is, we've never seen this before. So, and I like that M knew that Moneypenny was listening from the other room. I thought that was a cute little joke.
Yeah.
And this one here is only for Joel and Frank from Poseidon. When they mentioned red wine with fish, I should have known. She screamed out, he was drinking Merlot with salmon, which is a line. Joel, hopefully you know it from.
Yes.
Anyway, I was going to give it 3 stars, but I'm thinking about. I'm going 3.25. It was thoroughly enjoyable. I would see this one again.
All right, Amy No Cringer. Had you seen this before?
No, I had only ever seen Dr. No.
Yeah, we saw
that's
that
the one
last
we
year.
saw.
So yes, we saw that one.
I think that was my first one. I mean, I do remember going to the theater and seeing the one in 77.
Spy Who Loved Me.
Yeah, but I have no memory of it. I just remember being at the Fresh Meadow Theater. Why an 11-year-old went to see it, I have no idea. Maybe I didn't. I just, for some reason, I just have this blank, this wall against wanting to see James Bond my whole life. And not too long ago, I think, after Dr. No, I watched Casino Royale, but I never finished it. Something stopped, I had to stop it and I never went back. So I'm like, but I did enjoy that one more than this one. Annie, I'm surprised with the way you were talking about it, and then you gave it 3.25 stars. To me, 3.25 stars is really good. And you were like, nah, it was okay. What were you gonna say? Anything?
Well, I would like to say that, Amy, you would have a chance to watch A Spy Who Loved Me again when we watch it in 2077 for its 50th anniversary.
Oh, sure.
Oh, no,
Uh,
we're doing 60 anniversers.
Yeah,
That's
but
what I
we might as well do the 50.
No,
We'll never catch up.
exactly.
I thought, Annie, you mentioned it, the entire gypsy scene. I was like, please, can I fast forward through this? I can't, but I was hating that scene. I don't know what the hell was even going on, really. And I wrote, when he and Tanya were driving in the yellow truck after escaping from the train in that god awful day for night, who were in the helicopter and why were they trying to kill him? And how did the helicopter people know it was James Bond in the truck when it wasn't supposed to be?
Joel?
They're Spectre agents. They, by the time you get to that point, Spectre knows that Grant is dead. So they deduce that Bond is probably using Grant's escape route from the train. So that's,
Explained it out to him.
yeah.
Okay. And I thought shooting the barrels was a fabulous effect. I thought that
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it wasn't a fabulous effect. I just am suspect that one shot would have ignited the whole thing.
didn't he shoot each one?
He shot each grouping.
Oh,
Yeah, didn't work for me.
well,
But
I
it was fabulous.
I was very surprised because of course I didn't think that. Even when he was dumping them, I thought he was dumping them for weight, and then he shot them. Like, oh my God, of course, brilliant. So I'm gonna give it 2.75 stars. I'm sorry. I am looking forward to the next one next year, though. I want to like them, and I think I might like the more modern ones better.
Yeah.
And the whole thing with the nonstop, the women take one look at him and they are madly in love, and then they all just make out and have sex. It was just like, oh, enough already, my God.
That keeps happening for most of these older runners.
Yeah, and I would quite frankly have the same reaction because
I think
he's
Pierce-
pretty beautiful.
I think Pierce is more beautiful than Sean.
Yeah. I remember when I saw Pierce Brosnan in person, and I was like, he's even more beautiful in person than he is on TV.
Wow.
I'm like, oh my God. I like took my breath away.
He
Wow.
looks.
He
to
can't
me,
sing
he
like
looks
Sean
the best.
Connery can.
All righty.
Okay.
I
All right,
thought,
Joel.
hold on. Pierce Brosnan, I think, looks the best. He looks like the best Bond, the
He's
sharpest.
beautiful.
Oh my
He is
God.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Joel.
He was
ahead,
only one?
There's
Pierce-
like
Pierce
3 or
Brosnan?
4.
No.
4.
4, yeah.
Oh, one.
Yeah. But no, Sean Connery is the best Bond. Sorry.
Yeah.
Maybe Pierce is prettier, but
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. I just mean he looks better. That's all. Yeah.
Well, of course, he's
Joel.
still alive.
He's what?
He's still alive.
nobody said now, Joel.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right, Joel, where is this rank in your Bondophilia?
Okay.
Because I know you've ranked the Bonds in the order you like them. Of course you have.
Well, yeah. No,
But this is number 3, 4.
I couldn't tell you what number it's at. Yes, I've ranked them. I don't keep track of it because it's like my regular movie list. They're fluctuating based on, my mood and the time. But this is always in the top 10.
And how many have there been?
There have been 25 to date.
All right, so
That does
yeah,
not include the
top
1967 version
50%.
of Casino Royale or
No,
Never Say Never Again.
non-canon. Yes,
Right.
that's why I wrote canon in
Okay.
my availability.
It's definitely up there. The first three Bond films really build and set the tones for everything that comes after it. And you can see the crew that's involved behind the scenes building as well. You know, most of the people who worked on the first three films carry through, you know, a lot of the rest of the series behind the scenes, whether it's Peter Hunt editing, you know, the first five films, or you know, Maurice Binder doing the title sequences, or John Barry doing the scores. You know, there's very much a conceptual continuity that I think helps with things as well.
Yeah, but of
Um,
course, Joel, also the very fact that they were their own worst enemy, that they kept having a top what they did the one before,
sure.
kind of led to that bloated era
Well,
of the 70s.
a number of, yeah, I mean, there are a number of factors that will eventually lead to that. You know, they you know, by the time they get to film 5, You Only Live Twice, they've really started tossing out Ian Fleming's work, and really just stealing the title of the novel, a couple of character names, maybe the location, and then changing the entire plot to fit their own needs, which I think it becomes problematic. But here, you know, we're still early enough. It's a relatively faithful adaptation of the novel, not necessarily in the letter of it, but definitely in the spirit of it. It's you know, uh, John F. Kennedy had it on a top 10 list of books, and I think that's the main reason they went with this one for the second film, because they could play off of that popularity, that comes from a popular president at the time.
And this was the last movie he saw before going to Dallas.
Yes.
Wait, we'll wait while Amy changes her name.
Um, just a couple of quick things that came up in the conversation. Matt Monroe is English. Pedro Armendariz, who played Karen Bay, was not dubbed per se. He would have dubbed his own voice, because Pedro Armendariz was very sick while making the movie. And instead of replacing him, they kept him on, and they front loaded all of the scenes they needed to do with him, including any dialogue replacement for later. There are a number of shots where there's a double of him that had to be reshot later, but you know,
He
unfortunately,
totally sounded dubbed to me.
well, he sounds dubbed because there are bits where they had to use his own voice to, you know, where he redubbed himself.
Right.
But that is his voice. He was a very acclaimed Mexican actor, and discovered he had terminal cancer during the shooting of the film. Just as they were starting to shoot, he became very sick very quickly. When he was done shooting, and the film had to keep going, he checked into a hospital, and within days he shot himself because he wanted to go out on his own terms.
Wow.
Yeah, very tragic story.
I will never do that.
You're never going out
Mhm.
on your own terms?
No, I'm going to suffer and make people around me suffer.
That makes sense. Those are your terms, though.
Oh, yeah, those are my jokes.
His son actually appears in a later film, in License to Kill, as the president of a fictional country. So, you know, the Bond film keeps the series keeps using family members. It's, you know,
So, have we ever talked about how you became obsessed with the Bond movies? Is it a dad thing?
it's a dad thing mostly.
Yeah.
Anyway, not to belabor the issues.
So it's in the top 10.
It's definitely in the
Bond
top
movies.
10. It's a lot of fun. It has a very Hitchcockian feel at moments, because basically they, you know, the helicopter scene was
North by
stolen
Northwest.
from North by Northwest.
Which I mentioned.
You know, and you know, it's funny because you know, Connery's contract allowed him to make one. He'd do a Bond film and then an off film each year, and the intention was to do one a year. But obviously, after Thunderball, they become one every other year because they just couldn't sustain it. But looking for a project. Connery didn't want to do another film for Broccoli and Saltzman that year. So Broccoli said, well, what do you want to do? He's like, I'd love to work with Hitchcock. So Albert R. Broccoli called up Hitchcock and said, do you have anything for Sean Connery? And next thing you know, he's in Marnie. So,
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he picked a good one.
Never heard of it.
Me neither.
It was badly reviewed at the time, but it's a good movie in retrospect. It's nice to, you mentioned Moneypenny and Bond, and Lois Maxwell is great for the run she had in the series. Bernard Lee's M is great, for his run. Unfortunately, he passed away right before For Your Eyes Only. Desmond Llewellyn, his first appearance as Q. He will appear consistently with one exception up until I think it's The World Is Not Enough is his last film. Yeah, The World Is Not Enough is his last film, with Pierce Brosnan. But it's still fun seeing these early movies, and everything that they're building between Dr. No and From Russia with Love really coalesces in Goldfinger, and it becomes the template for everything that comes after it, in one way or another. So, you get the pre-title sequence here, with, the fake out of Bond's death, which will happen a few times over the course of the series. They actually had to reshoot that scene with the reveal of the mask, because when they shot it, they all realized, wait a minute, why did we pick an actor that actually kind of resembles Sean Connery? When they pulled the mask off, everybody was confused. It's like, why is James Bond wearing a Bond mask? So they reshot it with a guy with a mustache. People would know that it wasn't Bond. Lots of fun behind the scenes stories like that, on the whole series, in fact. But as a film itself,
Wait.
Yeah.
Don't say anything too important. I gotta go to the bathroom. Okay.
Ooh.
Okay.
Well, I mean, you can continue, Joel, because nothing you say is really important.
That's true. That is very, very true. Let's see. What could I throw in here that's not too important about this film?
Yeah, I have a question then. Is this in Dr. No, it wasn't him that, the opening scene of him shooting toward the camera, but this one was, right? This
No.
was Sean?
No, it's still Bob Simmons. They're using the footage of Bob Simmons up until I think Thunderball is the first time you actually see Sean Connery in the opening gun barrel sequence.
Is that number 4?
That's number 4.
Okay.
So the reason I was saying about Matt Monro, I didn't know he was British. I assumed he was, because they've always used a British act to be the song, except when Madonna did it, right?
Wasn't Madonna
But
like?
she thinks she's English.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. So,
right? So it's always been a British act. No, Carly Simon's not British. Sorry.
And Louis Armstrong's not British.
He's Yiddish.
All right, forget it. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you don't, but that's okay. But it's Matt Monro, and honestly, you don't have the theme song over the credits yet. You get a snippet of the theme song on the radio when Bond is canoodling in the canoe with Sylvia Trench.
Canoodling in the canoe.
Yeah, who unfortunately, director Terrence Young, who did both Dr. No and From Russia with Love, was the one who had this idea of having Bond hook up with this woman that, their dates are constantly being interrupted by him having to go off on a mission. And this is the second and last time you will see her. Because he left the series for Goldfinger. He'll be back. But he did not bring her back with him. They kind of moved on beyond that. So you get that little snippet of the theme song there when they're having their makeout session, and then you don't get the whole thing until the end of the movie, during the end credits. Sure. So that will change with Goldfinger.
All right, Joel. So what's your rating on?
So for a film,
nothing he said was consequential.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't even remember what he said.
Exactly. I don't even remember what I said.
Can we rewind the tape?
Yeah. As a film itself, I would give it 3.5-ish, maybe, based on that. As a Bond film, it gets a 3.8. So on the Bond scale.
But as a regular film, which is how I rated it, 3.5, which is what I said. All right, cool. it is fun, and yes, we are going to watch all of the James Bond movies eventually. It's up to Joel.
You
should
know,
ti-
I
We
don't
should
know.
time next. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
I don't know how I actually like got into it, but I definitely remember seeing like, did Moonraker come before The Spy Who Loved Me?
No, it's the one right after The Spy Who Loved Me.
So I definitely saw The Spy Who Loved Me in the theaters. What year?
Yeah,
was
I think because that was like 77, 78,
Right.
70, so you were going to the movies pretty regularly, I'm sure, around that time.
Yeah, and then since then, I've really, you know,
it was a
Oh,
big
yeah.
movie, so of course you're gonna go see what the big
We're all
movies.
kind of that age where, Roger Moore had been established at that point as Bond with at least 2 films, and then we're all in that age range where, except for Mark, where you would have gone to see Spy Who Loved Me either in the theater or caught it on, an early HBO, showing, and then Moonraker 79. So
Well, Joel, I saw The Spy Who Shagged Me in the theater.
yes, I assumed that. And Mark, you do know that Rosa Klebb was the prototype for Frau Farbissina.
I
Of
kind
course.
of got that when watching this.
Of
Is done. Yeah,
course.
totally.
All right, so from Retro with Love, and I think the entire canon Bond movies are on Prime, right, Joel?
They should be, because considering Amazon now owns MGM, which owns United Artists, which owns half the rights to the series. So
Well, there you go. So that you can watch them on Prime. You can watch them all if you want. And next week, Annie gives us Rom-Com with
Hey.
2001's Serendipity. And that one's on Max if you want to watch it before we talk about it next week. That's it for us.
what if you don't want to watch it before we talk about it next week?
Yeah, it's still on
It'll
Max.
be on Max.
It's
Oh,
on
okay.
Max whether or not you want to watch it. Yes.
And all I'll say is, I think next year when we watch Goldfinger, we should all review it together in Costa Rica with Annie.
There you go. I'm Frank Gaffney. Go watch a movie.
And also with you.